You know, 80% of CEOs polled right now said digital transformation is one of their top 3 initiatives. Over 70% of the top 100 corporations will have digital transformation teams in place by the end of the year. This is a unique time for all of us to take a great bite out of some market share right now. So let's talk about a simple model that will help you accelerate. First, a simple shape, a pyramid, a triangle. At the top of the model is about alignment. It starts with that HDD, the high definition destination. The more details you can put into your future and communicate that to your team, the better aligned their daily, weekly actions, activities, and plans will be. It's not a general vision, mission, and goals anymore. It's about articulating context, resolution, high definition into the future you would like to have, and then let your fighter pilots figure out the rest. Now, it's not enough to have a great HDD or strategy. We also have to have a great platform based on people, training, and standard operating procedures. This equates to what? Scalability. But ultimately, we need to turn and burn. We need to get important initiatives accomplished right now. These are the tactics. This is the Agile framework that I used every time I went flying. You know, as a fighter pilot, the first thing we do is we don't step out to the jet. What do? We plan. And we don't just talk about planning. We show people how to plan using 6 simple steps. It's the same way we plan in the cockpit, it's the same way our commanders plan, and it's the same way our general officers plan in the Pentagon. So we're all speaking off the same structure, or we have a shared mental model on how we're going to get work accomplished. Let me ask you a question. Do you have a shared mental model, a way to plan that's specific to your organization? Or do you just tell people to deliver you a plan? It's not enough to have a plan. We don't plan and then go fly. We plan and then brief. It's the last step of alignment. It's the last step of accountability. It's where we get in front of the team, we reinstate the mission objective, and we spell out who is going to do what by when, and make sure nobody has a question on what's expected out of them on today's mission. Plan, brief, execute. I don't care how great the plan was, how well your briefing went. There's always one thing that stands in the way of a flawlessly executed mission. And we call that task saturation or task overload. And I know none of you or your clients are ever task saturated or overloaded, right? Here's one thing I know for sure as a fighter pilot. As task saturation increases, errors increase, and performance actually decreases. But you're proud of the amount of task saturation that you and your team are shouldering. How do I know? I've been on flights down to Brazil and down to Chile and other parts of Latin America. I've sat next to you. You've talked to me about how much stuff you're doing all at once. Our team's doing great. We never say no. We're all flying in the clouds, upside down, on fire, heading towards the ground. What else can we do? So task saturation is a reality. We have to understand it and eliminate it while we're executing the pre-brief plan. Plan, brief, execute. Okay, I'm going to need a little more audience participation. I know I talk a little fast. Am I talking too fast? Okay, so there's no excuse here. Okay. Simple slide, simple model, follow along, plan, brief, execute, debrief. But you never debrief, do you? You talk about it. You know you should do it, but you never debrief. Unless something really went wrong, or maybe you celebrate when something really went right. In my world, it's the most important thing that we do outside of the flight. It's critical. Right when we land from a mission, we go into a room and we debrief. And you know what? When we debrief, it's different than your debriefing. It happens every time, and it's nameless and rankless. Hey, in the military, we have rank. We have hierarchy. We have respect, right? But what do we want in the debrief? We want truth over artificial harmony. We need the truth. So we need a nameless, rankless environment so everybody can freely admit their errors in front of each other or even their supervisors or subordinates. The most important thing about the nameless, rankless debrief is to get the lesson learned out on the table so we can walk out of the debrief and put the lesson learned right back into the next day's plan and iterate and get just a little bit better. When organizations use a simple process, plan, brief, execute, debrief, they stay at the same rate of change or slightly ahead of the rate of change, and you will win. So Murph, there's got to be more to it than that. And yeah, there is. There's some details. Let's dive into a few of the details. First, planning. We only use 6 steps. I don't care if it's the organizational plan, i.e., how are we going to execute as an organization 2 years from now? I don't care if it's the strategic campaigns, the things we're going to do in the next 12 to 24 months. Or I don't care if it's the mission that we're going to accomplish today. We all use the same 6 steps to plan our missions. So let's dive into these steps in a little more detail. Step number 1 is to determine a mission objective. Notice how I didn't say a mission statement. No, a mission objective is crystal clear, and it drives action now. It's not somewhere we would like to be one day maybe. For a fighter pilot, a mission objective is clear and drives action. It's measurable. If you don't measure it, it's probably not going to happen. It's also achievable, i.e. believable. These are for your sales teams. Our mission objectives are achievable. Hey, if you're going to send men and women into combat where they could possibly lose their lives, you better make sure that mission objective is achievable, i.e. believable, and it must support the future. It must support the pre-planned, high-definition destination, the why. If I'm not compelled around the why, the HDD, what are we doing? Step number 1. So what does this look like for me as a fighter pilot? The Air Force's vision is to fly, fight, and win. Is that a good mission objective for me as an F-15 pilot? Imagine we were all F-15 pilots in the United States Air Force, and I'm your commander, and I walk into the room and I go, hey, tomorrow morning at 0600, we're going to fly 3,000 miles into enemy territory. I want you to fly, fight, and win. Good luck. And I left the stage. But think about that. I mean, really think about that. Isn't that the way a lot of companies run? Fly, fight, and win is not an HDD. It's hard to align to that. And we rarely take that bigger picture and break it down into an actionable, short-range mission objective that's clear, measurable, and achievable. So here's a good mission objective for a fighter pilot. Here's a scenario. Here's the why. Yesterday, one of our fighter pilots was shot down over enemy territory, but our pilot ejected, and our pilot's on the ground. We need to rescue our pilot. So we're going to send in a Navy SEAL team to bring our pilot back. But as fighter pilots, this is our mission objective today. We're going to protect the airspace above the rescue zone, our downed pilot, from the surface to 50,000 feet, from 1705 Zulu to 1817 Z. Now, what do you think about that mission objective? Is it clear? It's crystal clear. Is it measurable? You bet it is. Is it achievable, i.e. believable? Yes, put me in, coach. I'm willing to risk my life on that mission objective, not let's fly, fight, and win. And does getting our friend back home align to our HDD, the why of my organization in the Air Force? You bet. So, how about you? Do you have a mission objective like this, like the one that I just talked about? Now, I know that right now, this is what we're thinking about as partners in Microsoft. Deploy the one commercial partner strategy, right? That's what we need to do, urgently. Microsoft has reconfigured itself for you, the partners, and your customers. Is that a good mission objective for your company? We need to break it down, don't we? We need to incorporate or really ensure that we co-develop the FY 2018 business plan for my company. But again, is that clear, measurable, achievable, and short range in nature? This is the real mission objective here. With our new partner, as part of the one commercial partner strategy, our PDM, we are going to co-define our joint offerings, customers, and revenue targets for the cloud by August 15th, 2017. Now, if you were to present that mission objective to your team, would they know exactly what to do versus deliver a business plan or deploy the one commercial partner strategy? So this is step 1 in our process. But here's what I also know. hey Murph, I get that mission objective, but there's going to be threats along the way. For our downed pilot, that mission objective, we might have these external controllable threats that stand in the way. Does anybody know what those missiles are called? SAMs, right? Surface-to-air missiles. They fly 5 times faster than the F-15, and this particular model can maneuver at 32 Gs. And the F-15 maneuvers at 9 Gs. They have one mission objective in life, and that's to blow your rear end right out of the sky if you fly near them. So if you had a mission that would take you close to these kind of threats, you'd want to do what? No, not destroy them. You'd want to avoid them first, right? But you can't begin to avoid or negate these threats unless threat identification is a step in your planning process. So what's the biggest threat? Standing in the way of you rolling out your revenue targets, your customers for this new strategy by mid-August? What is it? Well, we need to get clear on what the strategy is. We need to get clear on what the new Microsoft approach is going to be around not only the old PSE way of doing things, but these 3 new functions and the great technological support that's going to support them. That could be a threat, right? Step number 3 in our process then is to identify our resources. Resources available to us that will negate the threat. Hey, we know our Marines are flying their F-18 Hornets in the Wild Weasel role. Wild Weasel pilots like to hunt down SAMs. That'd be a good friend to have on your team, right? How about for you? I was talking to Dennis and Raul a little bit earlier, and I said, hey, what resources do you have to negate this threat that many of your partners are probably going to have around the clarity of these functions, these new functions? And what they really need is more technological support. And what's pretty cool about this new strategy is you have CSAs, you have cloud solution architects, you also have partners around technology now, strategists, if you will, that will help you negate that threat and align and have more horsepower when you get in front of your clients. Identifying resources to negate threats to accomplish the mission objective, steps 1, 2, and 3. Step number 4 is to evaluate lessons learned. Where do we get lessons learned, ladies and gentlemen? Do you remember? Where do we get these? From debriefs. If you don't have a culture of debriefing, where do you get the lessons learned? We take previous lessons learned, we pull them forward into the plan so we can change the future, the one that we would like to have based on a culture of debriefing. And step number 5 then is to develop our course of action. This is the heart of the plan. This is where we put individual accountability into the team's plan. And we answer 3 questions. Who, an individual, will do what, an action or an activity, by when? Who will do what by when to accomplish the mission objective? Now, what do you think about this simple planning process? Do you like it? Would this work in your company? Would you be willing to risk your life on this plan at this point? Yeah, no, I wouldn't either. So that's why at this point we bring in the red team. Now, who is the red team? These are other fighter pilots just like me, but guess what? They weren't present when we were planning, i.e., they're not biased. They didn't fall in love with the plan. At this point, we bring in the red team, we brief the red team on our plan, and then we tell the red team to do what with the plan? Take it apart, find the weaknesses. We do that before we go fly while we're in the planning room. And then there's one more step, and that step is simply to ask the question, what if? We plan for contingencies. What if we have an uncontrollable threat that is unplanned? What if our new PDM isn't assigned to me 2 weeks after we leave this meeting? What if the air refueling tankers don't show up halfway across the Atlantic Ocean and we can't take on fuel and there's not an airport within 3,000 miles? What if the flight leader blows up before we get to the target area? Are we going to continue the attack or abort the mission? What if, what if, what if? Ask those questions now in a 1G environment where the winds are calm versus waiting 2 hours later, pulling 9 Gs, trying to survive a surface-to-air missile attack. That's not the time to brainstorm, ladies and gentlemen. That's the time to execute decisions that have been made previously in the clear, calm environment of the planning room. We have another saying in the fighter pilot world, and that is, flexibility is the key to air power. And at Afterburner, we like to take that one step further, And we like to say that preparation is the key to flexibility. Hey, in today's world, does it pay to be flexible with your customers? You bet it does, right? So that's planning. After you plan using those 6 steps, briefing is easy. It's a piece of cake. Everything that your team needs is in those 6 steps. So plan, brief, now it's time to execute.